The Supreme Court is threatened with violence in a typical Democrat violent, hoping to murder at least 3 Supreme Court justices. This just happened this Sunday. You didn't hear about it from the mainstream news because they're trying to hide the violence. That is the Democrat Party. Welcome to Doug in Exile. Welcome to another double-wide episode, 2 episodes in one. Bonus. We're going to focus on Democrat violence on this first one.
In which he, the Democrat, said that the GOP Speaker of the House of Delegates should get 2 bullets to the head. Should he get out of the race?
Well, that's up to the people, the leaders in Virginia. They have said he has apologized. What I understand is they say that on balance, he's a better person to be Attorney General.
We'll start here with Fox News making the announcement. This guy's a lunatic. We're going to go deep into their violence, including on Jay Jones. Watch this.
Yeah, good morning, Brian, Ainsley, and Lawrence. What's really frightening about this is that Supreme Court justices were expected to attend this annual Red Mass, which marked the start of a new Supreme Court term and honored the judiciary, a 41-year-old South Jersey man named Louis Jerry. Yeah, good morning, Brian, Ainsley, and Lawrence. What's really frightening about this is that Supreme Court justices were expected to attend this annual Red Mass, which marked the start of a new Supreme Court term and honored the judiciary, a 41-year-old South Jersey man named Louis Jerry, arrested on the cathedral's steps with more than 200 homemade explosives. They included Molotov cocktails and violence.
Okay, why is he living in a green tent on the church steps, living in a green tent, and they find over 200 homemade explosives sitting in this tent? I can't even come up with anything to say that's so psychotic, that this is normalized in public and this is just casual behavior, and the news won't cover it.
Containing nitromethane, a compound used in the Oklahoma City bombing. Now, court documents show that Jerry threatened to detonate the devices and handed officers writings expressing anger towards the Catholic Church, the Supreme Court justices, members of the Jewish faith, and get this, ICE.
Okay, so what party do we know of that hates Catholics, hates the Supreme Court justices that attend this mass, which are only Republican appointed judges? I think Amy Coney Barrett, John Roberts, and one other was supposed to attend. Which party hates Jews and which party hates ICE agents and had hatred of ICE agents throughout the last couple of years? The Democrat Party. This is a normal Democrat. Oh, no wonder why news media won't cover this, because they're trying to keep a narrative going that the right wing is full of right-wing violence, when this is another Timothy McVeigh, a guy that used the same chemical bombs as Timothy McVeigh. God is so good. Thank God this was stopped. This is a miracle.
When officers told the man they were going to forcibly remove him, the court documents also say that he responded by telling cops, "Several of your people are going to die from one of these." Now, D.C. police said in a statement, during the arrest, officers observed multiple suspicious items, including vials of liquid and possible fireworks inside of the suspect's tent. The suspect is preliminarily charged with unlawful entry, threats to kidnap or injure a person, in possession of a Molotov cocktail. The investigation is ongoing.
Now, they're not going to give a lot of details about this investigation. This is something that the FBI is going to investigate. The less we know, the better. I'm going to explain that by the end of this episode. You'll see what I mean. And don't fill the space with conspiracies in the meanwhile until we get the facts. But they are doing a massive investigation on this, guys. I just hope that eventually comes out to the public what they do find.
Reports say that security threat actually prevented the justices from attending, and now that suspect, Louis Jerry, is being held without bond, facing multiple charges, including possession of a weapon of mass destruction.
So the justices did not go to church, which is another agenda of the Democrat Party, to keep us all from going to church. I want you all to go attend church this Sunday. Don't be a Democrat.
Furtherance of a hate crime. Guys?
That is nuts. Thank you so much, Griff. You saw the tent that was set up on the stairs. That's where they found 200 incendiary devices, grenades and bottle rockets, Molotov cocktails. He expressed hostility and disdain for the Supreme Court and for ICE and for the Catholic Church and for Jewish people.
Yeah, bottle rockets. That's another weapon of Antifa that they use regularly in Portland that we've seen them fire off. I'm going to get back to more of this lunatic because I actually have the arrest file on him that has a lot more of interesting details to it, including one that's kind of hilarious. But here's Ron DeSantis on Twitter. This is about that Jay Jones guy that said he wanted to shoot an opponent and his children. Here's Ron DeSantis. He's a leading indicator of the party's direction. That's why. That's in response to Michael Schellenberger, another one of our favorite journalists we followed forever, who helped release the Twitter files. Michael Schellenberger says, we should move on from Virginia Attorney General nominee Jay Jones's fantasies about the murder of his political opponent and death of his children, say Democrats. They say we should move on. I'm going to show you clips of that too. We shouldn't. The lack of a single high-profile Democrat demanding Jones' public withdraw from the race is a terrifying new political low. Democrats' refusal to demand withdrawal of Virginia AG nominee is a dangerous new low in American politics. True. You're watching it get more violent before your very eyes. Here's a bunch of Democrats dodging the question. They have a chance to step out and say it. This is all of their Sidney Blumenthal, Adam Schiff.
Really not familiar with the situation in Virginia.
Yeah, you know why you're not familiar? Because the Democrat news won't cover it. I'll prove that too.
Do you think the Virginia AG candidate Jay Jones should leave the race that he's in?
Time at the moment. Thank you.
Okay. Did you see those texts though that he sent? The violent text messages?
Keep walking, Adam Schiff.
Jay Jones, the AG candidate in Virginia, should resign after those violent texts that came out? That he wanted to see a bullet in the head.
I think it was horrifying.
And do you think
I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
he's still in the race? He hasn't dropped out. Just wondering if you think he's a liability right now for Democrats.
No, he's not a liability to Democrats. To Democrats, that's a benefit. They see it as a feature that he would want to shoot an opponent's kids. That's the Democrat Party. They will not distance themselves from this guy. They own that brand. They're violent. They're always violent. They've been fomenting this talk for years. Republicans have been saying we don't act in violence. We correct our own. We say this is not appropriate. Here's Newsbusters' huge cover-up. NBC News spent only 1 minute covering Virginia Democrat AG candidate Jay Jones calling for the murder of former Republican Virginia Speaker Todd Gilbert. Do you know what would happen if it was the opposite? How much time would the Democrat news media spend on a Republican saying he wanted to shoot the children of his political opponent? Just take a guess down in the chat below, my people in exile. ABC, CBS, and PBS haven't covered this scandal at all. Here's the TV network Barry Virginia election scandal. Jay Jones text coverage. Here is NBC with a whopping 63 seconds since the news came out. ABC, 0. CBS, which is going to be taken over by Barry Weiss, 0 seconds coverage. PBS, that wants more money during the shutdown. They want Chuck Schumer to give them free money as part of his blackmail that he said to Trump. He would not sign the continued resolution to fund the government unless we gave PBS more money. They cover the news. 0 seconds. This is a cover-up. Massive. Here's a AI of Jay Jones. We will murder your Republican children. Jay Jones, 2025. That is the Democrat brand, my people. But wait, we're gonna go back to the Daily Wire article on this. Here's Carrie Severino, who we love. We've been quoting her a lot on the Supreme Court. This man allegedly was ready to deploy 200 explosives at a Catholic mass to pray for the Supreme Court justices and other justices in D.C. So the mass was going to pray for our judges. And there's a man there to greet free speech and exercise of religion with 200 bombs. That's the Democrat Party. When will this end? Well, I don't know. I don't know when it'll end, frankly. I think it's going to escalate. Here's more detail on the from Daily Wire. 2 days after a Biden judge gave light sentence to attempted Judge Kavanaugh assassin, church event historically attended by conservative justices targeted. So that's Democrats. They give light sentences to a guy who attempted to murder Kavanaugh and his family because he was a Democrat and it was a Democrat judge. And the killer announced that he's trans because he's transing. She said that was the reason why she gave him a light sentence of 8 years and was happy that the family got to come together and finally accept their trans son. Are you seeing the politics yet, guys? This is the guy in the tent after Amy Coney Barrett trying to scare her into compliance. Washington, D.C. on Sunday arrested a man with hundreds of explosive devices outside the church holding mass in honor of the Supreme Court. This is normal. Louis Jerry, a 41-year-old from Arizona and New Jersey, was apprehended outside the Cathedral of St. Matthew on October 5th, the same day the church held its annual Red Mass, in which a cardinal prays for the High Court as it embarks on a new term and which is historically attended by justices. So this is an attempted murder of the Supreme Court by Democrats. Again. Always the left against the right, not the right against the left. The right have not threatened the life of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Sotomayor, Kagan, Ketanji Brown Jackson. I would be furious if any right winger so much as breathed this, even on a blog. You won't find it anywhere. It's not in our vocabulary. It's not normalized on the right, which is why you never put an X next to a Democrat. Are you crazy? Do you want to elect someone who's pro-murder of justices? Jerry was occupying a green tent on the steps of the church when police attempted to clear the area in preparation for the Supreme Court event. He told police, this is the killer told the police, quote, "You might want to stay back and call the federales. I have explosives." A member of the Metropolitan Police Department's bomb squad then told him he needed to move because of a special event. Not move because you're filled with bombs, but move because this is a special event. And he replied, "I'm aware of that," referring to the Red Mass. Police wrote, threatening to throw a bomb into the street as a demonstration, adding, quote, "I have 100+ of them," unquote. This guy's a lunatic. All shooters are crazy. They're not sane. Police said they would remove him against his will. Really? Wow, that's shocking, police. And he replied, quote, "Several of your people are gonna die from one of these," with a lighter in one hand, and he handed them 9 pieces of paper that amount to a manifesto. There it is. And they're not going to release the manifesto. I hope they do, but they're doing investigations right now. And they need to release that manifesto because it's going to be a Democrat going against the Catholic Church, the Jews, and ICE agents and the Supreme Court justices. And what we're going to find is basically every single thing on his manifesto, his murder manifesto, is a major platform of the Democrat Party. That's why they don't want this manifesto released. But the crazy guy, they always have their manifesto. Here's what I really, really believe, and that's why I'm acting out in violence instead of using my free speech. The title is called Written Negotiations for the Avoidance of Destruction of Property via Detonation of Explosives. What a nut. He's acting like this is a legal document. The manifesto revealed his significant animosity towards the Catholic Church, members of the Jewish faith, members of the Supreme Court, and ICE facilities. All of it cued, not just by Democrats, but by the media that's been showing all of the ICE facilities and ICE protests. Jerry then shifted his right thumb over the top of the butane lighter to initiate the lighting action and stated, "You'd better have these people step away or there's going to be deaths." Jerry then left the tent. This is the funniest part. I can't help but laugh at this. I'm sorry, guys. Jerry then left the tent to urinate on a tree. This is a homeless problem. Guys, this is our homeless problem. And was apprehended by 3 officers, at which point he said he had a device in his pocket. A bomb squad technician located in his pocket a vial with a white cap, which contained yellow liquid inside with an M device, detonation device, taped to the exterior. After he was arrested, the bomb squad located a large cache of handmade destructive devices in a tent, the police said. He was charged with unlawful entry, manufacture, transfer, transfer, use, possession, or transportation of Molotov cocktails or other explosives or for unlawful purposes, threats to kidnap or injure a person, assault on police officer, possession of destructive device, manufacture or possession of weapon of mass destruction, a hate crime, and resisting arrest. This guy, well, I hope it doesn't go to that Democrat judge, because she'll only give him, 4 years? Hand slap. She'll go, I'm glad that all he has to do is come out as trans and he'll get his sentence reduced. He's like, I'd like to now announce that I'm trans. And they'll go, okay, reduce sentence on this guy. On Monday, after reviewing the bombs more carefully, police filled an affidavit from a bomb technician saying there were over 200 devices from the tent, including nitromethane. The liquid appeared to be multiple chemicals mixed together, none in its original containers. The devices appear to be fully functional. Nitromethane with the rubber band. This is what Timothy McVeigh used. So he got the whole thing. Here's no justices attended the mass concerning, but last year, 3 justices, all conservative, attended. That's where he got the idea, people. John Roberts, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett. In 2018, the leftists were photographed protesting the mass and signs that said, "Stop Kavanaugh." Why, he must have been listening to Chuck Schumer saying, "Kavanaugh, you will reap the whirlwind." So Chuck Schumer, arrest him for inciting this violence, referring to the false smear peddled by Democrat senators that Kavanaugh was a gang rapist. Here's the Stop Kavanaugh crew out here. Democrat, hippie, white, boomers. Here's an interesting quote I found. This is a question answer session during TPUSA recently with Vivek Ramaswamy, where a questioner asked him about our words violence.
I'm just going to read it one-on-one off of this text that I got. Okay.
Who sent you the text?
It's our teacher at our school. I'm just asking on behalf of him.
Fair enough.
Okay. The Democrat running for Attorney General in Virginia said in leaked text that he wished his political opponent as well as his children were dead.
That's Jay Jones.
No Democrats condemned those words. Today, a poll came out showing that 1 in 3 leftists say that physical violence is necessary to effect social change. Do you think that the nation can come back from this level of hatred the political left has for conservatives?
We must. Whatever is necessary is always possible. So do I believe it's possible? I do.
Yeah.
But do we have work cut out for us ahead? Absolutely. The normalization of political violence is un-American in this country. It's unacceptable.
But someone tell the left, how's the left going to change when they believe? He's going to explain why they believe it. Because if you tell them that Trump is a totalitarian existential threat on the same level as Hitler, of course and that his silence is violence and words are violence, then you think you can respond to it with physical violence because it's violence.
And I think that one of the things I've noticed is no one on the right is going to manage to convince someone on the left, just as somebody on the left is probably going to have a hard time convincing someone on the right of the same thing regarding although I personally believe the numbers are asymmetric in one direction. So what we're going to need is actually leaders with a spine on the left who we disagree with deeply to still stand up and say that no matter what you think, words, and this is one of the sins of the woke movement, the idea that words are violence. That's where a lot of this began, right?
Here's my first problem with this plan. He's saying we need to find principled people on the left. You're not going to find them anywhere in the Democrat Party. That's why I showed you that clip of all those Democrat people, Adam Schiff and stuff. They will not condemn this thing. By nature, the left wants power. They don't care about the means it took to get that preferred end. So this whole plan is what we need is principled Democrats to come out and say this. If they believed this, they would not be Democrats.
Intellectual slippage between words, the free debate and challenge in the marketplace of ideas. That idea, you would hear it a few years ago, that words are violence, that I am harmed, that microaggression is the equivalent of physical harm to me.
You guys remember my old show? I used to have a show during my first run in Doug in Exile back in 2021 called Microaggressions. I was making fun of that concept. They were saying that microaggressions are little dog whistles and little things you might say that trigger and are aggressive and harmful to Democrats.
Crossed an American boundary into something anti-American. The idea, if you turn words into violence, then I guess somebody could think violence is justified in response. We on the left and right have to be united that words are not violence, violence is violence, and violence is never, ever, never, ever in the United States of America an acceptable response to words, period.
Yeah, you're not going to get that from Democrats, Vivek. I appreciate that he's there talking to Turning Point. I think it's an important point he made. Here's Byron Donalds. I don't have time for this because this show's getting so long. I'm just going to give you the quick tweet of the video clip. He said, attention, Virginia, your Democrat Attorney General candidate wants to kill his GOP political rivals and top of the Democrat ticket refuses to hold him accountable. Number one, people in Virginia, my Republican friends, register to vote. Number two, vote GOP early. This vote is taking place. It's just a couple weeks away now in November. The mail-in votes are already done that have voted for Jay Jones. We have to generate more Republican votes to show up. Doesn't have to be the day of. I don't care if you mail it in or whatever. You get your vote in Virginia. Number two, so vote early. Number three, make sure your friends and family vote GOP against the murderer. And number four, volunteer to get out the vote. That's our walking orders. And then I'll save this next clip for the caboose, the part two of this show. Hope you guys enjoy. Get ready. Sit tight for the double wide. We're only halfway through it. This is a big episode. I hope you've subscribed. That's how you tell me thank you. And if you want to do a double thank you, then join our membership right next to that subscribe button. And I'll see you over there with exclusive streaming on Doug in Exile. Comey pleads not guilty. More developments on the Jay Jones violence of the Democrat Party. Bill Clinton is going to give us insight on Israel. There's just a ton of news, too much to cover. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. This is the second half of the double wide, and I hope you guys enjoy these longer episodes. I like knocking out a whole lot of news. Now, this is the All In podcast. Now, some of you guys, I'm sorry, it's not the All In. It's two-way, I'm sorry. And Sean Spicer there in the middle is an old school Republican press secretary. They're giving other side to James Comey, just kind of going, what he did with not wiretapping, but collecting the data on 8 Republican phones is kind of normal. I want to hear the Democrat side. I totally disagree with it, but it's important for us to hear their best argument.
This could be an egregious abuse of power, but I'll say again, it's not just on the face of it an abuse of power for an independent counsel or the Justice Department to investigate a member of Congress. Dan, correct?
Well, yeah, and I want to add that the report is that he was looking at them over the fake electors scheme. We have to start with the fact that was batshit crazy.
Okay, the fake elector scheme, that was the one where they told Mike Pence to go with the fake, what they call fake electors. I'll call it what it really is they're alternate electors. In the end, I think Mike Pence made the right decision. Most of my audience would call him a traitor for it, but I'm not a Democrat, okay? I've never voted for a Democrat, never would do a Democrat dang thing in my life. That does not make me a Democrat. But he's trying to defend the spying on 8 of these people. Marsha Blackburn, was Lindsey Graham involved with that? I don't care how crazy they think the alternate electors strategy was. It does not justify collecting phone data of 8 congressmen.
They tried to literally run fake electors to overturn an election.
Alternate electors.
Full stop. So they were checking out to see who might have been complying with that. This wasn't it's history on that issue is going to be so unkind. It's crazy.
It might be seen as crazy, but John Eastman is the one who came up with the theory. He used the Constitution to justify it. He used precedent to justify it and just said, look, this is an open door. We can try it. Now, he says history is going to remember that as bat caca crazy until the Democrats use it against Republicans, and this Democrat will change his mind and go, well, there's a lot of nuances in the Constitution.
Look, I knowing the people that are listed on that, there are some serious questions that need to be answered, and I think that it is concerning.
Again, I'm not saying it's not concerning, and I'm not saying I know the facts, and I'm against abuse of power. And for all I know, this is deep state run amok. I don't know.
Is it an abuse of power just to get into the phones? So Mark Halpern on the left says, no, it's not an abuse of power. He says, we'll see when the facts come out. We already know, Jack Smith, it's an abuse of power, and Merrick Garland. Absolutely. They'd be going nuts if it was done against the other side.
All I'm saying is you can't just assume that it was done inappropriately. Let there be an investigation and figure it out. You can't.
We are a country where you're innocent until proven guilty. So
I know, but John, just because they pull your med, they didn't indict. They didn't indict them.
And some others would have.
But again,
they didn't indict them. They just.
There is.
Well, but they didn't pull the executive branch. They aren't random. They pulled the metadata of people who presumably they suspected, or at least potentially they suspected. They didn't pull the metadata of every Republican. They chose some. Presumably, they had some theory of the case. I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt because I never give prosecutors the benefit of the doubt. All I'm saying is I want more facts about it, and I hope they investigate it thoroughly. And if people violated their rights, I hope they're prosecuted to the fullest extent.
And he just now said he wouldn't give a prosecutor the benefit of the doubt, and he just now gave the prosecutor, Jack Smith, the benefit of the doubt.
The track record, that's the one last thing. I don't think the Biden DOJ, the Biden FBI has a strong track record.
As compared to this DOJ?
I mean, I'll say this. Joe Biden, when he pressured Merrick Garland, he told him to go F off. And nothing happened.
Merrick Garland allowed Jack Smith to say, I'm going to prosecute Trump in the election year, and not say it explicitly, but I'm going to do everything I can to get him prosecuted, indicted before the election, and to trial before the election. And Merrick Garland stood by and did nothing about it.
He was investigating the attempt to overturn an election.
He was, but he timed it to try to keep Trump from winning.
No, that's not true. That is.
Oh, it's 100% true.
It's 100% true. I love this argument. This is what all my shows focused on when all of those court cases went down, where Jack Smith was trying to speed up the Supreme Court, every court case to try and hit it before the election. Remember, all of those cases, that was my whole theme on the whole thing. The timing is everything. And lo and behold, once Trump wins, basically the day after he wins, they remove all those court cases. They no longer were useful for the Democrats, and they didn't want to go through with them. So timing was everything. This Democrat's wrong. That Democrat, or I'll say a centrist, Mark Halpern, is right, that the timing 100% happened. And that shows that it was political, okay? That's the greatest evidence that it's political. We're going to get to the violent Jay Jones, and the Democrats will not separate themselves from him. Here's Tim Kaine. Once again, they pinned him down in the halls, and he will not distance himself from Jay Jones. Tim Kaine, who was Hillary Clinton's running mate.
Do you think Jay Jones should drop out of the race in Virginia?
Jay has apologized. The statements that he made were indefensible, but I've known Jay Jones for 25 years. I think those statements were not in character, and he is a
I think they're dead on in character. Jay Jones said he would shoot an opponent's children. This is not a normal, I apologize. It's a revelation of his character from private messages. And they now have over 5 different psychotic statements he said from 5 different people. And many of them warned him going, Jay, you can't say this. And he went back and doubled down. So your judgment of his character is purely for politics.
Apologized. I wish other people in public life would sincerely apologize for stuff. So no, I still am a supporter.
Yeah, he wished other people would apologize, but no one has to apologize for saying they want to shoot their opponent's children because no one's ever said it. So Tim Kaine, maybe they never apologized for it because it's never been said. Here's more on Jay Jones. Jay Jones's campaign has scrubbed every town for gun safety. This is a gun-grabbing, anti-Second Amendment group that funded his campaign. Jay Jones's campaign scrubbed the Every Town for Gun Safety's endorsement from the website, implying that they have told him, look, remove our endorsement of you, you murderous psycho. Every Town, which gave $200,000 to Jones, quietly scrubbed its own website earlier today to show that they don't support Jay Jones. This is good news. The Democrat money is starting to draw away from this murderous psycho, Jay Jones, who's supposed to be the AG. They still refuse to make a public statement. They won't take a stand. They'll just remove their money, but secretly and quietly they go, yes, murderous psycho, we still support you. To just keep it on the down low. We're Democrats. We don't tell the truth. Now, this is Jason Mieres, who is the AG out there, and he has a statement.
To murder children of a political rival means he is wholly disqualified for this office, because when I took this office, I swore an oath not to a political party, but to protect all Virginians, Republicans, Democrats, and independents.
That's a normal AG. This is a normal AG who's a Republican who says Jay Jones needs to step down. He's a Republican, of course.
I cannot imagine somebody seeking this office and the responsibilities that come to this office, being the top prosecutor, that A, has never prosecuted a case in his life, clearly has never met with victims, and then advocating for the death of children. He's solely disqualified, in my opinion, of serving as the Attorney General of Virginia, and I think the voters are going to disqualify him as well.
Will the voters disqualify him? They only have a couple weeks left in the election to do it, and all the mail-in ballots from the Democrats are all in, whatever they're doing to vote. So I hope America does not freely vote for Jay Jones and put this psycho as an attorney general in Virginia. This is going to be a brand that we're going to use to harm the Democrats forever. It exposes their violence. Here's Tim Anderson. Remember that time Jay Jones demanded a candidate withdraw from a delegate race because of hate? Here's Jay Jones. This is a tweet from 2021. This is what Jay Jones's standard on someone else in 2021 is what we should apply back to Jay Jones. He says, for Hans, you should drop out of the race and delete your account. Hate has no place in this Commonwealth, my guy. Of course he didn't mean it. Of course he didn't believe it. He meant, I want power. This is just an interesting clip from a couple old friends of mine. So this is Frank Turek and my friend Jay Warner Wallace, who's a cold case detective, on why you don't always want to know what the FBI is working on, because they're supposed to be working on a case, and it can really spoil the jury pool if they spill too much about it. This is a great conversation with Jay Warner Wallace and Frank Turek.
Can you trust what the FBI has said about the Charlie Kirk murder? How much information does the FBI release? When do they release it? What is the proper way to release information? Might they be withholding information for a reason? Well, my friend Jay Warner Wallace, cold case homicide detective, will say yes.
The slightest mistake. So that's why every T is going to be crossed, every I is going to be dotted. And silence is now taken by these online YouTubers as evidence of something nefarious.
Yeah, I don't do that. You guys know me. I don't fill in silence with conspiracies. I wait for evidence. Other right-wing YouTubers do that, and it's a huge indictment that I think really scares the audience. It takes you guys down all kinds of false goose trails. You're following a lie, then suddenly they go, holy cow, nothing happened. It was all made up. There's no evidence. So I'm waiting. Let the silence go. By the way, Jay Warner Wallace, he also is a fellow comic book guy. He released a comic book on his theme is called Cold Case Christianity, is his story. And I met him at a Stand to Reason event. I used to hang with him. He was a wonderful man. He was an atheist who used his cold case reasoning as a detective to reverse engineer if Jesus's story holds muster, if it's real, because that was an ultimate cold case, right? There's no evidence today. And he went back and looked at it, reverse engineered the evidence, and became a Christian over the evidence.
Silence is just prudence.
That's a key point, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to that. That is a key point.
Silence is prudence.
To know. Jim's been on the inside and done these investigations himself. He knows what he's talking about. You don't reveal information before you have to.
No. And I'll tell you something. Every time, I get upset when I watch sometimes in a federal administration do an investigation like this, because I know they're bowing to they have press releases, they have press conferences. I'm always like, don't do that. I have no problem having them mad at me, but in having no information, because it turns out no information to the public helps you when you finally get to trial. I get it. Can you have no information? It's just going to create all of this conspiratorial thinking. Okay. I understand all that. But from an investigative perspective, everyone being dumb and not knowing what's going on is going to help us.
It keeps them from poisoning the jury pool, from doing all this stuff. This is why I stick to the facts. This is a discipline that I do. If there's a gap, you don't fill it in with spooky conspiracies, black helicopters, or just throw George Soros's name into it if you don't know. Here's more from Brianna Morello. Another person I follow on Twitter says President Donald Trump calls for the arrests of Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. Chicago mayor should be in jail for failing to protect ICE officers. Governor Pritzker also Trump just released today. I hope they go after them hard. Here's Trump, which I think is really funny. This is a great insult. He compares the Democrat Party to Somalia, who don't have a leader.
I'll tell you what, I'm getting calls from Democrats wanting to meet. I never even heard their names before, and they're claiming to be leaders. The Democrats have no leader. They remind me of Somalia, okay? You know? And I met the president of Somalia. I told him about the problem he's got. I said, you have somebody from Somalia who's telling us how to run our
He's talking about Ilhan Omar.
Country. She's from Somalia. He said, would you like to take her back? He said, no, I don't want her. Okay, you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I don't want her. He goes, you want to take Ilhan Omar back? He says, I don't want her. This is another interesting one. I like finding clips from the enemy. This is Bill Clinton explaining to a bunch of Democrats while he was on the Harris Waltz trail about why Israel are the good guys, Hamas are the bad guys. He, is the one who worked with Arafat and just said they do not want peace. They do not want peace. This is a fascinating story on why we need to pray for peace, for Trump's peace plan, and hope that it works. But it's going to be the Islamic radicals along that Gaza border. They're going to try to start a war again. Listen to Bill Clinton. Again, research from the Democrats.
I understand why young Palestinian and Arab Americans in Michigan think too many people have died. I get that. But if you lived in one of those kibbutzim in Israel, right next to Gaza, where the people there were the most pro-friendship with Palestine, most pro-two-state solution of any of the Israeli communities, were the ones right next to Gaza. And Hamas butchered them.
Hamas butchered the people that were biggest fans of theirs. That's a problem. They kill the moderates. They believe they're sellouts. Moderate Muslims go first. They get butchered. Here's more. Here's great news from Attorney General Pam Bondi. Great work by U.S. Attorney Exile and our foreign agents to make this crucial arrest. The Justice Department will deliver justice for the Palisades fire and keep California safe, even if California's leadership won't. Gavin Newsom won't do it. We will. They just now busted and released a picture of this guy. They want to remind you that he's innocent until proven guilty. But this is acting U.S. Attorney Bill Exile. Today, we announced the arrest of 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderknecht on a criminal complaint charging him with maliciously starting what became the Palisades fire in January, which killed, I think, 12 people. I'm not sure exactly how many. The complaint alleges that he shared a fire in Palisades on New Year's Day, a blaze that eventually turned into one of the most destructive fires in LA history, causing death and widespread destruction. These are the ChatGPT AI images that he did of fires burning down cities. They found it on his computer. His initial appearance is scheduled for today at 1:30, U.S. District Court in Orlando. He's presumed innocent. There's the picture of the guy, just so you know what he looks like. Probably a Democrat. I don't think that's a big stretch. Here's my friend Sean Davis talking about the violence of the Democrats on the left, how they are, well, I'll just let him say it. This is a good friend of mine here from Franklin, Tennessee.
It begins with censorship. It moves to the destruction of statues and monuments, and it ends with the murder of people.
Repeat.
It begins with censorship. It moves to the destruction of statues and monuments, and it ends with the murder of people. The drive to silence speech doesn't end at a podium's edge or at the four corners of a page. It always advances toward the violent elimination of speakers. And that is because the authoritarian impulse to silence speech is driven by a totalitarian desire to seize total power by any means necessary, up to and including the murder of one's political opponents.
Democrats.
This dynamic was made clear on a Tuesday afternoon in Utah last month when my friend Charlie Kirk was assassinated in broad daylight by a left-wing transgender ideologue who was enraged by Charlie's clear understanding and teaching that God created us male and female, that boys cannot become girls and girls cannot become boys. Charlie was murdered by this left-wing assassin who had been radicalized by demonic transgender ideology because he was one of the most bold and effective speakers in the country opposed to this evil ideology.
He was killed because he was effective at speech. That's why we do not condone violence. It goes against us. But we're going to end on this hilarious meme. This is Trump sitting down with a Canadian prime minister, and someone bumped it up with a little AI.
Why aren't you? Because I want to be a great man too.
And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed a little happy ending here. Don't forget to subscribe as we continue to bring you the news. And that wraps up our double wide. I'm Doug in Exile. Da 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 da.